unforced passes, knock-ons, just stuff that they normally don't produce. But look, I suppose they're going to look at that and say, look, job done, we got our 5 points, we're on 10, and it's on to the next one, But they have a bit to work on. They're going to go behind and review that game and work on. They're going to have to improve and kick up a couple of gears if they want to win this one.
Kieran Frawley scored in his debut in Europe last week, and Josh Murphy did the same today after only 2 minutes.
He did. Now, there's a couple of people who came on now and played well, and Josh Murphy hit a superb line off the pass from Jameson Gibson Park and decided straight through the defence. But there's going to be a couple of concerns. We thought that Josh Murphy got a start, but he got the start because Caelan Doris got injured. There was Harry Byrne went off, who was supposed to make his debut just before. In the warm-up, he must have tweaked something, and hopefully it's not too serious. But they had a few more as well. Jimmy O'Brien went off injured, so the injury count's mounting up for Leinster to add to their already massive injury list. So, look, they seem to have the squad to cope at the moment, but they did lose a lot of players.
Cian Healy, Dave Carney and Jameson Gibson Park got the other tries in the 4-try win. But also Northampton scored 3 tries, so no back number.
Yeah, look, I think they're going to have to keep an eye on that. I think it's one of these situations where if they come up against a better side, Northampton, they'll struggle, and they looked that Northampton looked dangerous once they got in behind, and they didn't have too many opportunities to get scores, but when they did, they took them and they were pretty ruthless, and they just couldn't shake them off. Every time they scored just after half-time, Jameson Gibson Park on a try, a nice little sniper try off the scrum and picked under, and as a schoolboy you're told, right, this is when you're most vulnerable, just after scoring in all sports, and from the resulting kickoff, Jameson Gibson Park turns from 0 to 0 and gets blocked down by Nick Kasikwe and scores in the corner. And these small little errors they're going to have to knock out if they do want to progress.
15 points in the boot of Ross Byrne, 3 penalties and 3 conversions. How did you rate his performance?
Yeah, look, considering that he wasn't involved up until just before kick-off, maybe that's not a bad thing for his mindset. But no, he did extremely well. I'm sure he was frustrated with not having to play and having the younger brother come in ahead of him. And look, he's an experienced international who did extremely well when he did come on. He controlled it. You could see he gets frustrated out there sometimes. He didn't get as good a platform as he normally gets, but look, he's a solid player. I'd give him a 7 out of 10, I suppose, if we're going for numbers. He controlled things, he kicks well, and you know what you get with him. But all in all, for someone who's just called up from the warm-up, he did extremely well.
So what will Leo Cullen's thoughts be now going forward into the Christmas period?
Oh, look, it's a quick turnaround. I think he's going to go and check the vaccine bill of health. I think Munster next week, it's into the Christmas week, and their focus is going to be on them, and they certainly can't produce the type of performance they did today because, well, I suppose we'll have to see how Munster go this evening now, but they're going to have to bring it up. Physicality levels as well. You could see the intensity wasn't there, and maybe it's to do with the crowd as well, not being here, and it's a European game, but you missed that. That intensity just wasn't there, and you could see it was nearly like a pre-season friendly. They did enough. They were in second, third gear, but they need to go up a couple of gears, especially in the next couple of weeks. And as the rounds go on, they'll need to certainly find fourth and fifth gear.
Absolutely, James. Well, thanks for speaking to us this afternoon at the RDS, and have a great Christmas.
Cheers, John. You too.
James Downey there after Leinster beat Northampton in the Champions Cup by 35 points to 19, so 2 wins from 2, job done. So this is now the beautiful game we're going to speak about between now and 4:30. We're going to speak about football with Dan McDonnell, who's the Irish Independent Football correspondent, the broadcaster and journalist Johnny Ward, and the former Republic of Ireland defender Damien Delaney. Our football coverage brought to you thanks to Paddy Power. For more information on responsible gambling, you can visit dunlewy.net. You can text us about any football matter or any questions for the lads, 53106. You can tweet us at Off The Ball. We're streaming live as well. You can watch us on the social channels for Periscope, on Twitter at Off The Ball, Facebook, YouTube, and on the OTB Sports app. Damien Delaney, Liverpool 7, Crystal Palace 0. That's I think all I need to say at the start of this segment this week. Good to see you again, and a thumping.
Yeah, I was hoping you wouldn't come to me first. But look, there's been a couple of times in the last 2 years since I retired where I saw Palace getting good results, and for a couple of minutes I thought to myself, God, it would be good to be back in the changing room. But then also days like today bring you crashing back down to earth and make you glad that you're retired, because that really was a thumping. They did reasonably okay in the first half, but Liverpool were just I'm going to focus on how good Liverpool were. Really, they were fantastic. The quality of the finishing, the level, the determination that they showed, even at 3-4-0, you could see they wanted to get 7-8 goals. It was a special performance from them, and they're right where they want to be at Christmas, and that's top of the table.
We saw last week they drew at Fulham, and then they beat Spurs in a crucial match. I saw you on the TV talking about it, Damien. And has that given them just almost like an ignition to reassert themselves as the clear favourites for the title now? Yeah,
I mean, there was a period where you thought they might be rattled. When Virgil van Dijk went down, a couple of results, iffy results. People were asking the questions: Could they sustain their title challenge with the injury list that they had? I think they've emphatically answered that now at Christmas time, and I'm pretty sure that with Oxlade-Chamberlain getting fit now, they seem to have put the Virgil van Dijk issue behind them. It doesn't seem to matter who plays at centre back. They look really, really good. Matip, if he can get a run of games now and keep the top three fit and get Jota back in the next couple of weeks to add competition to that, I think it's hard to look past them, really, for the league.
Dan, and like we've been spoken about this before, that's why Caoimhín Kelleher probably shouldn't be going anywhere.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, I guess so. I mean, it wasn't a hard-working afternoon for any goalkeeper either today, or hard-working lunchtime game. I know, listen, we've said it before about Kelleher, it's a fantastic club to be at. I was actually just thinking there, wasn't one of the real because even you said Liverpool 7, Crystal Palace 0, but of course I suppose it's Crystal Palace 0, Liverpool 7. It's like the away win aspect of it that is like almost in some respects even more stunning. But wasn't there a Liverpool 9, Crystal Palace 0 game?
Yes, there was.
Was that like a record? I think it was like in the late 80s. It was one of these iconic scorelines, and like you didn't have. I remember like growing up, you wouldn't necessarily have those thrashings. Those real like the one. I think Andy Cole scored 5 goals
against Ipswich,
Yeah, against it, but you can remember them now, and maybe that's like a childhood thing, or maybe it's just that they were isolated at the time. Whereas in recent years, you see, like you've seen Man City a couple of times. You see, I mean, in Southampton, turned over 9-0, which is sort of hard to believe, given how good they are now. But it does seem you do have these elite teams now. Like when they click, they are capable of doing that. Now, I was looking forward to see Damo see if he could dismantle the Palace performance in any way with Palace head on, because every time there's a drubbing like that, I always go back to, remember John O'Shea saying it after Ireland lost 6-1 to Germany that time, you still shouldn't lose, no matter how good the opposition are, you still shouldn't lose, you shouldn't be shipping 6 goals. So I guess there is something wrong there, but I don't know, I didn't have the eye to sort of see it. But I mean, what it does show in some respects to me, and I would have probably spoken about Man City in these terms in recent years, is that we talk about this open title race, and it is, I mean, on points on paper, it is, there's no Van Dijk, we've seen Liverpool drop points at Fulham last week, etc. But when they click, when they really click, you realise, I know these are on another level to some of the teams that are challenging them, that Liverpool on a good day is probably better than everyone else's good day, if we're truly honest. And I think that sort of, that emphasised it, that even that wasn't the third goal to break for Firmino, just the quality of it. You're thinking, you don't really, you're looking at the other teams around them that are challenging. And I thought Spurs gave it a really good go during the week and really could have won that game. So that's not going to overreact on the basis of the result and how it worked out. But at the same time, you're thinking, could Spurs be as good as Liverpool were today, for example? And you're thinking,
well, last week
probably. Well, no, I know they have been.
No, but last week they couldn't beat Palace.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Well, listen, Palace had fans last week. You could make all sorts of different conclusions. I think it's more the one-off quality of the performance from Liverpool showing how good they can be on their day, and if there's sort of a terrifying prospect when they are in that kind of mood. But it will still be interesting to see, is it a catalyst for something? Because as in recent years, you've seen Man City be sensational in a given game, and then in the tight game, they find it harder. So we'll see. Liverpool have still dropped points where you wouldn't expect them to this year, but when you see them that good, you're thinking they should be winning this league, really. It
was the 12th of September 1989, by the way.
Yeah, can I just, Dan's quite right that that 9-0 that Crystal Palace Liverpool beat Crystal Palace. But at the back end of the season, that was the same season as they beat Liverpool 4-3 in the cup semi-final to set up that 1990 FA Cup final. So that's the caveat that everyone always at Crystal Palace used to say. Well, we did get beat 9, but we did beat them 4-3 in the cup semi-final. So
who got the winner? People remember
Alan Pardew.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a famous game for Crystal Palace. But I suppose if we were to analyse it from a Crystal Palace point of view, I mean, they've been okay this year, but Czech Kouyaté has played the majority of the season at centre back, along with 35-year-old Gary Cahill, and I think that nobody really exposed that partnership until today. They came up against an unstoppable force, really, and Crystal Palace, I won't say makeshift back four, but they have been chopping and changing, a lot of problems at centre back, and they got away. They've been getting away with it. Today's one of those days they didn't get away with it, and Liverpool were breathtakingly good.
And who especially was breathtaking for people who didn't see it, Damien?
Oh, Firmino. I mean, that goal that he got. I know he went out of form a little bit, and Jota came in, which is the reason they signed Diogo Jota, because those front three have been working incredibly hard for the last 2.5 seasons, where they have been almost flawless for 2.5 years, and that couldn't last. There was a chance that maybe one of them would run out of steam, and that's why you sign someone like Jota, who's just at the right level that he can come in and apply enough pressure to make these guys think that they could potentially lose their place, or if one of them does go through a bad spell or gets tired or whatnot, that Jota can come in and pick up the slack, but also not a superstar that's going to expect to play every week, where they've spent 80, 100 million on someone, and now you've got 4 superstars vying for 3 places, and that can be difficult to manage. So that is a great signing by Liverpool, and it seems to have given Firmino the break that he needed, and Jota picked up the slack. And obviously, with Jota being injured, Firmino's come in and looks fresh, looks hungry, and today he was right at the very top of his game.
Johnny Ward, good afternoon. Liverpool really making a statement over the last 4 days.
Absolutely, John. When you think about it today, no Thiago, no Virgil van Dijk, Salah on the bench, Jota injured, and you're thinking, Palace will think that they've a bit of a chance here, and that chance dissipated very quickly in the game. And Minamino's goal, Damien's talking about these guys who've come in. I think he makes a very good point there, that these are players that aren't necessarily expected to start week in, week out. And Minamino and Jota are probably very happy to be at Liverpool, and they know they will get chances like they have been given. And Minamino really accepted that chance today. But Jordan Ayew, he did fluff his lines when at 1-0, when he should have pulled it back to Zaha to kind of create what probably would have been a goal. But other than that, I mean, Liverpool, once the second goal went in, it was completely game over. And I've been saying this for a while. I couldn't get my head around how themselves and Man City were basically joint favourites for the league as of last week, because I haven't seen it at all from City. Gary Neville spoke about it after Manchester derby. I think the magic is well and truly gone from them. I don't think
1-0 up, by the way.
They're 1-0 up.
Yeah, Raheem Sterling. Just let you know.
Yeah, they need to win that game today, I think, and that Southampton actually.
Great time there, JD. Absolutely terrific time.
It's a Christmas present. Early Christmas present, lads. Sorry. So we'll keep you up to date with the scores.
You kind of feel that is a game they need to win, but their performance in the Manchester derby, I'd have expected them to have won that game. I think they would have just caused Man United a lot more problems. And Liverpool, when they had all those players out, it really did look like it's going to change in terms of what they be like without Van Dijk. They're actually not really conceding goals either. And the players that are coming in, Salah coming off the bench today, he's on fire. He's gotten 12 or 13 goals already this season in the league. And I find it very hard to see where they're going to be stopped. They have had a busy schedule. I know Dan mentioned that they were poor against Fulham, and it's kind of understandable with all the games that they're going to have the odd off day. But I can't really see how they're going to be stopped. They just will find ways of winning games. Today they were breathtaking.
And it's now 13 goals, Johnny, for Salah, top scorer in the Premier League, ahead of Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Son. Curtis Jones, I think, has really impressed me at 19 years of age, Damien, in the Liverpool team in recent times. Wasn't even playing today, but was really good against Spurs during the week.
Yeah, Jurgen Klopp has instilled a mentality at Liverpool, a winning mentality, similar to what I think Alex Ferguson used to do at Manchester United. Sometimes you'd be kind of scrolling through Instagram, Twitter, and a team that one away in the Champions League would pop up with the likes of Jemba Cleberson, and it was all about the mentality of the football club and people that came in done really, really well, but when the starters weren't playing, and I think that's what Jurgen Klopp's done at Liverpool. I think there's just a mentality in that football club that you have to have, and if you don't have it, you won't get anywhere near the first team. And Nico Williams certainly has. Nico Williams, Jones, and Phillips, the young boys that have come in and done really, really well. And it's just the mentality of the football club. They just, no matter what team he seems to pick, there's something about the edge that Liverpool have, their mindset, that they just want to win every time they lace up their boots. And that's a credit to the manager. And I think that's where all that stems from. The manager just sets a tone at the football club and everybody has to live up to it.
We saw during the week, very sadly, that Gerard Houllier passed away, another former Liverpool manager, 73 years of age. Johnny, I know you at the time were a big Liverpool fan, and I would say that he probably changed the culture of the club. He maybe got rid of the Spice Boys era and got young players like Carragher and Gerrard into the system, playing well and believing. Obviously, they've been playing before, but 3 trophies in 1 year, 2001, FA Cup, League Cup and UEFA Cup, an obsessive, a workaholic, seemed like a very nice man. And if Liverpool were going to, in the noughties, win trophies like Houllier and Benitez did, they needed to have that success early doors.
Yeah, this is profoundly sad actually, because it's really taken before the time, and obviously he had long heart problems. But when Liverpool were taken over by Graham Souness, they turned into an absolute mess, and they were so all over the shop. It took a long time to recover. Souness obviously felt some of the players were too old at that time. Got some high-profile players left the club, but he left the club in a bad state. And Roy Evans came in and did a really good job to an extent. They obviously didn't win the title, but then he was joined by Houllier, who obviously took over pretty quickly himself, and he did change the culture. I think if he did have one flaw, it was probably that he was actually too nice. I think, the more you read about his, the obituaries and I guess all the tributes that have been paid to him, really heartfelt. His ex-players really, you could tell they genuinely had deep respect and love for the man. Phil Thompson, the same. And he was that path. Like he brought Liverpool on to the Benitez era, where they generally were a very competitive side. They didn't really challenge for many titles in that time or whatever, but he definitely got a lot out of players and improved them as players. And it was a lovely story. I think he was a kind of a Liverpool fan as a young man, and I was struck going to Liverpool games after Rafa Benitez left that there were still chants about Rafa Benitez, but Liverpool fans would hold him very, very dearly in their hearts, and it's very, very sad. He would have gotten great pleasure out of what happened to the club over the past year in terms of that elusive title win that evaded him. And as I say, probably if he were guilty of one thing, it was probably that he was possibly a bit too nice to be at maybe the best manager he could have been.
Yeah, Dan, I'm thinking of the signings he made: Sami Hyypiä, Stefan Anshot, Gary McAllister, who was brilliant, a brilliant addition to the Liverpool team with his creativity in midfield. And that 2001 FA Cup final was a really good final against Arsenal. Michael Owen scored 2 great goals, and that was possibly the highlight, if I remember, as a neutral of the Houllier era.
Yeah, I mean, the Alaves game, and that sort of that year of their cup wins, and they become a really good side. They were probably on the cusp of being a really top side, and then I guess they were in terms of the trophy. They just didn't get that league win in that period where they sort of knocked on the door. But there was so much more to his life than that. And I know it's just Liverpool is just one aspect of it, and it's naturally where you start for a lot of the audience. Gerard Houllier very nearly became Ireland manager before Trapattoni. He could have been given Damien Delaney his first cap. I mean, it was Houllier was in the negotiations with the FAI around that time, and was actually I think there was some issues around who wanted to bring in lots of staff and stuff like that with him, and it was sort of it was kind of a sliding doors moment to some degree, and even the fact that with France as well, that he had the ignominy of being the manager who didn't bring them to the World Cup in '94, and he blamed David Ginola for that. But he was involved as sort of technical director prior to that in some good work that came to fruition later on. So, a very varied football life. But what's striking about that Liverpool time like if you listen to maybe Gerrard and Carragher, probably the local icons of that era, like Carragher in particular during the week, he spoke about it, and Gerrard previously, like they really had a great love for Houllier, it seemed, and Rafa was obviously a bit more, could be a bit more cool with them, and there probably wasn't that same relationship, there was always that sort of weird, where do you stand with him aspect, where with Houllier it was really warm, and he was probably the right person for the club at that time. And as you mentioned great moments and great. It's not all about winning the league. It's just the one box that he couldn't necessarily tick. But he was involved in some great moments when they were a really exciting team.
53106, your text messages. Any tributes to Gerard Houllier? Damien, when you were watching Liverpool in the early noughties, did you like the style of football that Houllier played? Or do you remember? Yeah,
I do. I mean, I was kind of around at that time, when I went over to Leicester in 2000, and I do remember, seeing his Liverpool side up close, and he's just struck me as a really gentleman, kind man. But bringing through the players that he brought through, and just, as you said, graduating away from that Spice Boys era, and kind of making Liverpool, I think he won a treble, is that right? The three cups. So, he brought some success to Liverpool, which obviously was used as a springboard into the Benitez era. But he'd be sadly missed. He was a great football man. I was interested that Dan said there about the Ireland. I didn't know that. I genuinely didn't. So, and Tony did really well. But who knows if someone like Gerard Houllier got the job. Maybe we might be on a different path now.
So, there was a lot of people in for that job around that time, but he was one that there was a brief period there where it looked like he was the one. And I know it was these betting markets with managers are a bit weird, because it was Paul Jewell, John Giles even at one point was favourite, even though he was then interviewing Paul Jewell. That one went on for 100 and something days, that manager hunt. But Houllier definitely was very much in the frame. But he then obviously went on to Villa and would have worked with a couple of the Irish lads there. Richard Dunn actually didn't necessarily see eye to eye, because I think Dunn described seeing Houllier, a jubilant Houllier, on the night of the Henry handball. He was sort of there in some capacity, and did a jig past the Irish team bus, which for some reason Dunn stuck with Richard Dunn for years, because he brought it up in a thing we did last year.
Maybe Dunn was at the end of his tether after the Henry sitting beside him for half an hour.
So it lingered with him. But I suppose, it's interesting, where things might have gone with someone who possibly would have been more of a different type of, you would have been trying to look long term, you would think, although I think the FAI at that stage, we're still looking for a quick hit manager. So you'd wonder, they ended up getting one, I guess, who was very much live for today, in terms of how they approached it. But there we go. Yeah, it was generally Philip Troussier who was linked for the job every time, but Houllier would have been something slightly different if that had gone through.
But it does make you think that, if he did get the job and he's looking to bring staff with him, maybe he was on about creating academies and altering the path or the direction that Irish football was heading in, and the FAI chose short-term, not easiest, but the shortest route to success, quickest route really, which since found out why they did that, because qualifying for tournaments was so valuable. But it's an interesting what-if moment, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got to take a break, folks. 53106. Liverpool have got the best midfield in the Premier League, Van Aldum and Henderson, the new Whelan and McMahon of the modern Liverpool. Going to speak about Jose Mourinho and Arsenal after this.
Football on Off the Ball
with Paddy Power. Less flashy than a Jurgen Klopp smile, but just as effective. Gamble responsibly. See dunlewy.net.
This Sunday morning on Alive and Kicking. The cookbook for cancer prevention. How reforesting is one of our best defences against climate change. And we spare a thought for the people spending Christmas Day in hospital.
Alive and Kicking.
With me, Claire McKenna, this Sunday morning at 9.
Thanks to Benelin. Always read the label. Ask your pharmacist for advice.
On News Talk.
This Christmas, make someone you love. It could be you, a member of the Little Museum of Dublin. It's everyone's favourite museum. Right now, dual membership is just €25. And if you join today, we'll send you a free copy of our wonderful guidebook. So, join the Little Museum. Just call 0166 11 000 or visit littlemuseum.ie. The Little Museum. Dublin bottled.
InsureMyCars.ie. Make it a really good afternoon and check out the great car insurance discounts at InsureMyCars.ie. Ireland's trusted car insurance specialists. For super family savings, check out InsureMyCars.ie. City Financial Marketing Group Limited, trading as InsureMyCars.ie, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Many families will face impossible choices this Christmas. Please support the St Vincent de Paul annual appeal. Donate locally at svp.ie or call 0818 176 176.
Get set for Christmas with this weekend's Sunday Times. Don't miss our special 96-page culture section with full Christmas TV listings featuring some of Ireland and Britain's leading critics and writers and covering the festive season's top shows and films. Pick up a copy in this weekend's Sunday Times Ireland edition or subscribe online at thetimes.ie/join.
Blocked nose, sore throat, headache. The symptoms of a cold or flu can really knock the stuffing out of you. So it's good to know that Nurofen Cold and Flu has the power to relieve those aches and pains for up to 8 hours. Nurofen Cold and Flu contains an anti-inflammatory and a decongestant, which should help you bounce back. Nurofen Cold and Flu, for effective relief of cold and flu symptoms. Nurofen Cold and Flu film-coated tablets contain ibuprofen and pseudoephedrine hydrochloride. Always read the label. 8-hour relief refers to ibuprofen.
I remember when Christmas shopping was a magical time. Seeing those rosy faces with eyes smiling between low hats and high scarves. Young and old, so excited. Everything seemed so simple with free parking right outside and someone to help carry your gifts, steaming mugs of hot chocolate.
Wow, how long ago was this?
Yesterday.
With more brands than ever, shopping is a part of the magic of Christmas at Kildare Village, where there's something extraordinary every day.
Christmas Millionaire Raffle from the National Lottery is back. There are over €4.6 million in cash prizes. With 1 millionaire guaranteed, someone will wake up a millionaire on New Year's Day. Tickets are limited, so don't miss out. Pick up a ticket today in-store, in-app or at lottery.ie. The National Lottery. It could be you. Gift responsibly.
It's Paddy's week-long session on the Paddy Power app. So we'll have all those things that Irish people love at a session. Like, you know, shamrocks and kilts and ceilidh dancing and... Nah, only codding you. It's less diddly-eye and more what we're really about. Quality sport and unbelievable generosity. A monster 8-day rollover of specials exclusively for our customers in Ireland from December 12th to the 19th. Log on to our website or open our app to find out more. Paddy Power. 18+. Gamblingcare.ie.
Lighting and interiors by Fantasy Lights sale now on at fantasylights.com. Massive reductions on home and garden lighting with special spotlight savings on our super range of finishing touches such as mirrors, console tables, paintings and chairs. Free deliveries on orders over €50. Sale now on at fantasylights.com.
Malloy's, Dublin's oldest off-licence, now delivering all your corporate gifts and wines nationwide. Shop in store or online at malloys.ie. Enjoy alcohol responsibly.
Christmas has come early with the Pamela Scott Massive Winter Sale. Now on in all stores nationwide and online at pamelascott.com. Get up to 50% off your favourite fashion brands. Don't miss out. The Pamela Scott Massive Winter Sale now on in all stores nationwide and online at pamelascott.com.
This Christmas, it's got to be Super Value with amazing offers. Like Super Value Fresh Irish Ham Fillet, 1.8 to 2 kilo, €8 each. Super Value 7 offers like Parsnip Tray, 500 gram, just 49 cents each. Super Value award-winning Signature Tastes U-Log, now €8. And buy any 6 bottles of wine and save €10. It's got to be Super Value. Always drink responsibly.
Well, it's certainly been eventful. As 2020 comes to a close, at On Post, we have some thank yous to make. To all our customers who have kept communities across Ireland connected this year, and to our amazing staff for their hard work maintaining services and helping Irish businesses thrive. So whether you're making memories with those you'll see this festive season or sending love to those you won't, from all of us at On Post, Nullag Hunna Yiv. A very happy Christmas to you and yours. On Post, for your world.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power. Gamble responsibly. Gamblingcare.ie.
You're welcome back to Off the Ball Saturday here on News Talk. John Duggan with you through until 8 o'clock this evening, because it's an extended show for All Ireland final day, and also because we got live and exclusive commentary of Munster against Clermont Auvergne a little bit later on with Neil Tracy and Johnny Murphy. Just the scores in the Premier League: Crystal Palace 0, Liverpool 7 earlier on, an emphatic win from the champions. Raheem Sterling has scored to give Manchester City a 1-0 lead at Southampton. 5:30 start Everton against Arsenal at Goodison Park, and an 8 o'clock kick-off Newcastle against Fulham. at St James's Park. In the Championship, the leaders Norwich won 2-0 at home to Cardiff City earlier on. Latest scores to hand: Birmingham City 1, Middlesbrough 2. It's Brentford 3, Reading 0, Huddersfield Town 2, Watford 0, Luton Town 0, Bournemouth 0. It's Millwall 0, Nottingham Forest 0. It's Sheffield Wednesday 0, Coventry City 0. It's Stoke City 1, Blackburn Rovers 0, Swansea City 1, Barnsley 0, and Wycombe Wanderers 0, QPR 1. In the rugby in the Champions Cup, Leinster beat Northampton by 35 points to 19. Just going to speak about before we just go to that, we'll just get an update from the City game. Southampton against City, and this is the 3 o'clock kickoff.
Southampton 0, Manchester City 1. Decent response though from Southampton since going behind to that Raheem Sterling goal. 2,000 fans trying to help them get back into it. City keeper Edison made a fairly unorthodox save from a Theo Walcott effort just inside the box. The rebound was in the path of Danny Ings, but he just couldn't sort his feet out to respond quickly enough. Ings also had a header wide from a Walcott cross, and there's been another header from a Yannick Vestergaard from corner right at Edison. City's goal was pretty textbook stuff. An overlap on the right from Kevin De Bruyne, cutting the ball back to Sterling, who easily finished. It's Southampton 0, Man City 1.
I was stopped in my tracks there by the news that Rangers are losing. Rangers 0, Motherwell 1 in the Scottish Premiership. The leaders Rangers. Damien, obviously you saw the Liverpool Spurs game the other day. Jose Mourinho, has he got his mojo back? I'm just wondering, can Spurs realistically be contenders for a title or top 4 if they're defending that deep, or does that counter-attacking style, can it be effective to win a league title?
Yeah, I mean, like to win a league in the last number of years, you know, it's been 95 plus points. I don't think you can counter-attack your way to 95 plus points, because you will get a lot of draws like they got against Crystal Palace and things like that, you know, and you will have off days, and if you have off days, you'll get beat. Whereas the total this year, I think, could be less. It could be 85. When I say less, more realistic and more normal. And I think that's attainable for Jose with the way he plays. Now, if Liverpool go on a crazy run and finish with 90 plus points, I don't think they can. That's kind of the technical way that I would look at it. But he certainly got his mojo back, and I certainly believe that he looks refreshed. He looks like he's enjoying being the villain again, almost. I just knew that after the game when he made those comments that Jurgen Klopp wasn't going to bite and create a distraction for him and his football club. Jurgen Klopp's too smart for that, to get involved with Jose Mourinho. I think that's what Jose's probably trying to do. But I certainly think he's back in the form that we love. And I know a lot of people might admit they don't love him, but come on, man, a villainous Jose is always great for the Premier League.
Lads, do you love him, Dan, Johnny?
I didn't see it, to be honest. Like, I didn't see it coming back. I know, like, Damo and a few others who we've had on were sort of more positive about it. I didn't think he'd last at Spurs, to be honest, you know, and like, you have to say you've got something wrong sometimes. We'll see. I mean, we'll see how he can burn out pretty quickly as well. I was only reading a brilliant piece the other day about that season at Chelsea, where it all sort of went south, and how quickly that actually happened. And I suppose he has that in him. And like, you still, like, I mean, like, it is true. Like, I mean, you are sort of drawn to his entertainment value, even though it had got a bit tired. I think latter stage United, to be honest, Manchester United, was pretty tiresome. And I you know, even just any debate around him, it was just like draining. But the fact that, you know, maybe with Spurs, a club, that it's not necessarily a natural marriage, the two of them, and there is something about it that that sort of is now actually making a bit more of an interesting story for me. Whereas I have to admit, I sort of had my fill of Jose stuff, and I possibly wondered if he was done, really, you know, in the sense that, like, he had that aura, that amazing aura when he came on the scene at first, where, you know, everything he said was like you'd hang on it, and even if you knew there was a bit of mischief in it, and I wondered, had he lost that, you know, particularly towards the end of that time at Manchester United, where you're wondering, you always see managers doing stuff in the media, and you're thinking, well, what do their players even think of it? And I sort of, you sort of wondered, well, I wonder if they even just saw, here he goes again now, rather than a fear factor or some kind of that sort of aura that he used to hold before. But he's got something going there, even though it's only a couple of weeks back that someone had to take a photo of him on Instagram, him looking very angry after they hadn't, like, dropped points in some game, and you're thinking, this is parody stuff. But the fact is, the results probably show it. And like, it was, if Bergwijn takes that chance during the week, Like the margins are pretty fine, and it would have been like the perfect executed away win. And if that goes in, you would have called it an absolute masterclass, and it just swung against them. But it's a bit more interesting than I thought it might have been, to be honest. Yeah.
Johnny?
Yeah, they've 25 points from 13 games, 7 wins, and 6 games that they didn't win. So it's still slightly early days with them. I'm not sure there's enough about the depth of the Premier League this season, and it'll be interesting to see how good our Spurs are. Kind of a reflection of maybe the other teams around them. And the 26% possession against Liverpool, 2 shots on target. Obviously surrendered a lead against Palace, and drew against Chelsea as well in recent weeks. So some of the big games have kind of gone slightly against them. So I think it's very, very early days. I think the Mourinho time at Spurs will probably end in a bad enough way. Just that does look to be down the line. But to be fair, they have had a good season. They too seriously they will have goals. As long as those 2 players are playing up top and are fit, they're basically capable of pretty much beating nearly anyone in the league. But it's early days. I think I'd agree with Damien. It's hard to see them win the league. If you go to Anfield and you can compete and you're kind of trying to get a defensive masterclass and nick it. And Mourinho said they did go to win the game, which they kind of did. But to be fair, they 2 shots on target. I don't think they're capable of winning the league. To suggest from that performance anyway. But top 4 definitely achievable.
Can I just add as well, Eric?
Yeah.
Just that, I do believe that this could be a one-season thing for Jose, because Tottenham fans aren't a tolerant bunch, and they want to see football played the correct way. And I think the majority of Tottenham fans, certainly the ones I speak to, have kind of said to me, we'll tolerate it if it gets us a trophy, because Tottenham do have a style and they want to play a certain way. And I think everyone's kind of just patiently waiting to see if he can deliver a trophy. If he doesn't deliver a trophy this year, I'd be pretty sure the Tottenham fans are going to lose their rag with him by early next year if they continue down this counter-attacking kind of aggravating type of team. I think Tottenham fans will lose their rag very, very quickly. So this is, for me, it's a one-season experiment to see if he can get a trophy for him.
Just on the situation with Højbjerg and Sissoko playing in front of the back 4, Damien, I don't think Spurs, especially against Palace, Newcastle, West Ham, they had winning positions. When you play that way, counter-attacking, can you dictate a bit more? Because they weren't dictating against Liverpool, and Liverpool had the terms of the game in their hands.
Yeah, I mean, look, you could say that Liverpool were dictating it, but there's an argument you made that Jose was really comfortable. I know Sissoko started on the right-hand side of midfield, and he moved him into the middle because I think Lo Celso was very, very light in there. You win a lot of games of football playing that way, absolutely. But whether it's enough to win a league or not, I don't know. The days of just, remember before, early Alex Ferguson days in the 90s, it was Man United always started slow, and it was 75, 80 points was probably enough to be thereabouts, with only 1 or 2 teams themselves and Arsenal and maybe Chelsea challenging. So it's a style of football, but whether, as I said there before, whether you're going to get 95, 100 points with it, I'm not sure. But Jose obviously looks at the team that he has and the players that he has, and he thinks this system suits them best. I'm sure if Tottenham gave him £150 million, he might be able to play a different way. But Tottenham aren't huge spenders compared to the other teams. So I suppose he has to look at the most economical and most efficient way of gaining as many points as he possibly can.
We'll have to see something from Bale at some stage. I know he's been ill, Damien, he's been out, but he was the guy they were hoping for to unlock with a bit of magic defences as almost a supplementary player to Kane. You were thinking Kane, Son and Bale going forward, and it hasn't really materialised yet.
Bale was a roll of the dice, really. They got him on loan. They're paying half his wages, which is, an obscene amount of money anyway. But I mean, insofar as it's a free roll of the dice, because it doesn't work out, it costs you X amount of money, and he goes back to Madrid, and you've lost nothing if you'd signed him on a 3 or 4 year deal. Because Gareth Bale, let's be real, was pretty much shunted out of Real Madrid, and there was a reason that he was, and that wasn't the fact that he was a poor player. I'd say it was more attitude issues, because if somebody's in your dressing room that's not 100% committed to what you're doing, and I know everybody knows his love of golf is huge, and if somebody isn't committed, and some of his behaviour towards the end of his time at Real Madrid kind of smacked to me of somebody that's fallen out of love with football, kind of won all that he's won, been to the mountaintop, and he wanted to go to China, didn't get his move, and now he's going back to Tottenham. So for Tottenham, it's can we reignite it? If you can't, then it's fine, you've lost nothing. But for me, I've watched him in the European game away to that, was it that Linz, is the Austrian crowd? Yeah. And I mean, that performance smacked of me of somebody that has fallen out of love with football. And that performance showed why Real Madrid were so quick to get him out the door. Because it's not necessarily that you're not contributing on the pitch. I think Real Madrid might live with that. But if you're detracting from the changing room with your attitude, then you're a huge problem, and they got to get you out as quickly as possible, because, you know, if somebody with, you know, Gareth Bale's profile is behaving like that, it doesn't bode well for everybody else in the changing room, or it sets a bad example. And the fact that Real Madrid are willing to pay half his wages not to have him in the building just shows how desperate Zidane wants to get rid of him.
That is the most glorious segue I've ever heard from one topic to another, because you could just apply what you've been talking about there to Arsenal, Damien. 15th in the table, worst run since 1974 at the start of the season, 1 win in 9. A lot of players there that really shouldn't be at the club.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment. Whether a lot of it is Arteta's doing or not, I don't know. I certainly believe that the team that Arsenal have is better than 15th in the league. Probably not much better than that, but I mean, it should be at least top half of the table. But Arsenal have just gone down the road of just trying to buy middle-of-the-road players, and they can't seem to change the culture to the club. There's too many players there that are on contracts that they shouldn't be on, and that's why they can't get rid of them, because nobody else is going to pay those players that type of money. So when you're stuck with a bunch of lethargic players, lethargic becomes the culture in the changing room. It becomes the way that like I said, if one Gareth Bale is too many, I think Arsenal have about 7 or 8 of those types of players that are just not, heart isn't in it, the motivation isn't there. So I think Arsenal is, I won't say beyond repair, but I think it is from the sense that I don't think the owners are willing to spend the money to change the culture in the football club. And no matter what manager you put in there, when the culture is a culture, until you remove people from it and bring in the correct type of people, that's the only way you can change a culture of a football club.
I was reading about this, guys, Dan, Johnny, like in The Athletic today, they've spent 500 million since 2016. You've Ozil in Siberia footballing wise, and maybe that's the right thing to do. You've a load of corporate turnover of staff since Gazzita's left. Like you spent over 70 million on Pepe, doesn't seem to have really hit the world alight. Like, it's a big task to sort Arsenal out at the moment.
Yeah, like I mean, I was trying to sort of educate myself on this a bit today, because it's sort of, I guess in the summer, like Arsenal had those, you know, they had the FA Cup and even the Community Shield, and there was almost this sort of story there for a while that I probably bought into a bit. Yeah, you know, Arteta, it's on the way up, without necessarily sort of fully being on top of maybe the behind the scenes reality there. And certainly when you sort of read into it, maybe what some of the people who are covering that scene, you know, a lot are talking about, it really is like a long-standing recruitment issue, and a lot of scrutiny, I think, on Edu as well, who used to play for Arsenal, who's been involved, and some of the other people who are involved in bringing Arteta in have left. And actually, it doesn't seem like internally, from certainly, you know, these dispatches, I think was there a good piece, I think maybe it might have been in The Guardian today, Nick Ames might have been looking into it. It doesn't seem like there's this sense that like Arteta has been a disaster or anything like that. There seems to be a degree of sympathy for him that like he probably inherited like a scenario that's far from ideal. And yes, he made a sort of a policy decision maybe to freeze out Ozil rather than maybe stick with him till you get your creative replacement in. And that maybe in hindsight, you know, you could look at that decision and say, well, maybe, you know, could you have compromised a bit there? And there's also maybe a view as well that they're just a bit safe even in how they play, that they're maybe over-coached to some degree, and there's no real, I don't know, spark in their sort of creativity in their play. Because I just assume they do quite well this year to some degree, because they've got 2 very good strikers, you know, and Dan and Lacazette, you know.
Do you believe that Arteta's frozen out Ozil and that he's really cutting off his nose to spite his face? I mean,
well, I don't know. I mean, it strikes me as an unusual one. Like, what do you think, that it's a club policy they've decided? I mean, is that
well? Like, I mean,
himself? I mean,
I can't imagine that the position that he's been in that he wouldn't extend an olive branch to him. I mean, they might have had their differences, but there has to be more going on behind the scenes. I mean, I know he's been involved in some political issues with Turkey and the Chinese, you can't help but think. I know, by the way, there's wild speculation, but I mean, you can't help but think that it has to be some way playing into the club's decision and in the Asia market. I know China stopped showing Arsenal games, and you can't help but try and add 2 and 2 together. No, it might be way off, but from a footballing point of view, it makes absolutely no sense not to have Mesut Ozil in your squad.
He's too good. He's too good not to be in there, Damien.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I mean, you can't, especially with the wages that he's on. The guy, you find a place for him. I mean, Arteta doesn't seem like the type of guy that would just, cut off his nose to spite his face, even if they did have a disagreement, which it probably was somewhere along the way. But I mean, there has to be more to it than just footballing reasons. I
think that's fair. Like the fact that they didn't even include him in the Europa League squad at all, so it didn't even leave open the possibility, I suppose, that he went to training and showed an incredible attitude. It's like, well, actually, all of a sudden he's back here. You know, fair enough. And then maybe there is something. Maybe there is something going on there, but it's certainly an issue that, like, they have good forward players, but they're not servicing them. And they have someone there who, when he's on song, he can do that.
But even if you didn't want Mesut Ozil at your club, you'd still have him in your squad and play him in the Europa League games, because if you have a saleable asset on your books, and you'd want to show people Mesut Ozil's fit. He's playing well. If he has a couple of good games in Europa League, come January, you might get 15 million quid for him. And then but doing this is financial suicide as well, because you're paying out so much money to him. And you're never going to be able to sell him, because nobody's going to touch a player that hasn't played football for a year without at least seeing that he's fit or knowing that he is fit. So, I mean, I know plenty of times in my career, managers have pretty much been saying, look, I'm only going to play you because I want to sell you and I need to put you in the shop window. I've heard managers say that before. I don't want you here, but I want you to play. And if you want to leave, you're going to put yourself on show. So they'd give people games, especially coming up to transfer windows. So, that's from that point of view. That's why I don't think it makes any sense, really, that it would just be a simple falling out. Because if it was, the club would be going to make if we're spending so much money on this guy, I don't care what's happened between you two, what type of spat you've had, you two better mend your bridges. And Mesut Ozil is so active on Twitter as well, in support and his love of the club, that if an olive branch was extended to him, or if Mesut Ozil extended an olive branch, I can't believe that they would turn it down.
Yeah, they do really miss a player like that, as Dan was saying. They're not servicing the strikers. The last Arsenal game I saw was actually the Dundalk game, and I thought Arteta's body language on the sideline in the Aviva Stadium, I thought he definitely looked like a guy under pressure, and kind of the comments he was giving after the Southampton game smacked slightly of desperation as well, in the sense that, hopefully this can kickstart a season after a 1-1 draw at home to Southampton. And the Ozil situation, as much as you're dealing with a complex issue here, and Ozil clearly isn't straightforward. Probably another manager manages that and, puts his hand around his player and says, listen, I just think you're outrageously talented. You've so much to offer here, and gives him all the love that he needs, rather than freeze him out as he's done. And the freezing out is kind of grand up until maybe 9 games ago, since which time they've won 1 game in the league. And their form has been so bad that, to me, he looks like the guy that is under pressure. He doesn't have any experience of this before in his ephemeral managerial career, and I'm not sure where it's going to go, to be honest.
And just, Damien, just before we go to the break, Everton are not the team you're going to be facing today at 5:30. Seamus Coleman available again, and they've beaten Leicester and Chelsea in the last week.
Yeah, seems to start the season brilliantly and kind of had a drop off the minute, but Carlo Ancelotti is certainly making strides at Everton, and I think that a couple of shrewd signings in January, and he could certainly, I wouldn't say maybe Champions League, but I think he could certainly have them kind of knocking on the door and make progress from where they were last year. But they're a great side to watch, and I know they got news of a stadium development coming soon, so certainly a club on the up.
OK, got to take a break, folks. Back with Damien Delaney, Dan McDonnell and Johnny Ward after 4. Just latest scores. Crystal Palace are beaten 7-0 by the champions Liverpool. At half-time, Southampton 0, Manchester City 1. And in the Championship, full-time earlier on, the leaders Norwich beating Cardiff 2-0. Half-time scores, Birmingham 1, Middlesbrough 2. Brentford 3, Reading 0. It's Huddersfield 2, Watford 0. Goalless between Luton and Bournemouth, and also scoreless between Millwall and Nottingham Forest in the Championship. Elsewhere, Sheffield Wednesday 0, Coventry 0. It's Stoke City 1, Blackburn Rovers 0. Swansea City 1, Barnsley 0. And Wycombe Wanderers 0, QPR 1. Remember, All-Ireland final throws in at 5. Dublin Mayo. David Brady and Nathan Murphy reporting from Croke Park. 5:30 kick-off then for the Claremont Auvergne Munster match. We'll have live commentary with Neil Tracy and Johnny Murphy. Stay with us. You can text us on 53106 about Manchester United and Leeds tomorrow. I'd like to hear from fans of both clubs. Back after this.
Christmas telly, yes or no?
No, not a fan. No, not a fan.
Love it. Can't get enough of it.
Overrated.
Not as good as it used to be, but I'm actually really looking forward to the Gavin and Stacey Christmas special.
Merry Christmas from News Talk.
QuoteDevil.ie can save you money on your car insurance, van insurance or home insurance. QuoteDevil Home Insurance is so easy. Get a quote in just 60 seconds and purchase cover in 3 minutes.
The Quote Devil's always got one hell of a quote.
QuoteDevil Limited is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
That's my boy.
There are almost 3,000 children homeless in Ireland. This Christmas, you can help give them the greatest gift of all, a home. When you give a child a home, you give them the rest of their lives. Please, call Focus Ireland on 1850 204 205 and give whatever you can.
Everyone can join Ireland's fight against coronavirus by downloading the HSE's COVID Tracker app. It helps reduce the spread of the virus in Ireland while protecting your privacy and keeping a secure, anonymous record of people you're in close contact with. It can alert you if you've been in close contact with someone who tests positive and helps us with contact tracing if you become ill. So the more people who use the app, the more people we can protect. Stay safe. Protect each other. Download the HSE's COVID Tracker app at covidtracker.ie.
Make Christmas magical with the perfect turkey from Dunnes Stores. Delivered fresh in-store daily between now and Christmas. No matter who's at the dinner table, our amazing range has you covered. Choose from whole turkeys, crowns or turkey joints, or one already prepared with butter and herb stuffing. 100% Irish and Board Bia approved, with that succulent texture and rich depth of flavour. Available in-store now. Dunnes Stores. Make Christmas for everyone.
Follow the leader, the Mitsubishi Outlander PHEV, the world's best-selling plug-in hybrid, is now available with 0% finance and a free home charge point worth €800. Leading the charge in plug-in hybrid technology, the Mitsubishi Outlander PHEV. Book a test drive at your local dealer today. Mitsubishi, drive your ambition. Terms and conditions apply. See MitsubishiMotors.ie. Lending criteria applies. This is a hire purchase agreement provided by Bank of Ireland Finance.
This Christmas, give the gift of books from Eason with wonderful children's books like J.K. Rowling's Enthralling Ichabod, David Walliams' hilarious codename Bananas, the brand new Diary of a Wimpy Kid, Cat Kid Comic Club from Dave Pilkey, and Zoe Sudd's Magpie Society YA novel. All carefully chosen by us for you, because this Christmas means more.
At Expert Electrical Stores, LG OLED TVs bring you more. More pixels, over 8.3 million. They add up to make LG OLED TVs richer, sharper and smoother. Now they're bringing more boom to your room. Get a free LG speaker with every LG OLED TV at Expert Electrical Stores nationwide or at expert.ie.
From music to rock out to, chill out to, and dance to. From sweater weather to workout playlists. Whatever mood you're in, Go Loud has music to match. Download the Go Loud app now or add us on your smart speaker. Go Loud. Podcasts, radio, and music to your ears.
Pinergy is the energy company that asks questions. Like, what if we offered you an ongoing partnership that responds to the evolving needs of your business? With a single point of contact who knows your industry inside out and gives you the knowledge and tools to drive meaningful change in how you use energy. A different kind of energy company. Visit pinergy.ie or call 0818 363 749 and talk to an energy advisor today. Pinergy. Energy with insight.
It's Paddy's week-long session on the Paddy Power app. So we'll have all those things that Irish people love at a session. Like, you know, shamrocks and kilts and ceilidh dancing and... Nah, only codding you. It's less diddly-eye and more what we're really about. Quality sport and unbelievable generosity. A monster 8-day rollover of specials exclusively for our customers in Ireland from December 12th to the 19th. Log on to our website or open our app to find out more. Paddy Power. 18+. Gamblingcare.ie.
As an aspiring business leader, your time is at a premium. But don't let that stop you advancing your career. With only 2 days attendance required each month, the new modular executive MBA from UCD Smurfit School is the flexible choice for those with busy professional and personal schedules. Unlock your leadership potential with one of the world's leading business schools. It's your future on your terms. Learn more today at smurfitschool.ie. UCD Michael Smurfit Graduate Business School. Developing impactful business leaders.
It's Christmas shopping time at Flanagan Cairns. Irish-made pictures, all types of mirrors, colourful vases, tray tables, lanterns and candle holders. Stunning light-up baubles, Christmas decorations, great gifts, cushions, wool throws, bronze figures, Tiffany lamps and handmade lady lamps. You also get free delivery, free assembly, and we'll take away your replaced mattress or sofa for free. Thank you for supporting Irish makers, Irish family businesses and for shopping local. Flanagan Cairns, Southern Cross Bray, exit 7 off the N11. Flanagan Cairns, furniture for life.
Well, it's certainly been eventful. As 2020 comes to a close, at On Post we have some thank yous to make. To all our customers who have kept communities across Ireland connected this year, and to our amazing staff for their hard work maintaining services and helping Irish businesses thrive. So whether you're making memories with those you'll see this festive season or sending love to those you won't, from all of us at On Post, Nullag Huna Yeov. A very happy Christmas to you and yours. On Post, for your world.
Listen back to your favourite News Talk shows at newstalk.com and on the News Talk app. Across Ireland, this is the IMRO Radio Awards National Station of the Year. This is News Talk.
It's 4 o'clock. Good afternoon. I'm Stephen Burke. The Restaurants Association is demanding a meeting with government over plans to restrict the hospitality trade again over Christmas. After Christmas, the Cabinet set to meet on Tuesday to consider the move on NPHET advice. Cork City restaurateur Mike Ryan says the indecision is frustrating.
This is the problem. Businesses have to be able to plan ahead. We can't plan. We're living day by day, and that's no good for mental health of ourselves, our staff.
Younger people are being urged to avoid unnecessary socialising this weekend to make sure they can spend Christmas with their families. 582 more cases were confirmed yesterday, the highest daily number since the beginning of November. Officials have warned the country just can't cope with this level of infection heading into Christmas week. COVID lead with the Irish College of General Practitioners, Dr Mary Favier, says they want people to think about the risks.
I had 2 young ones in the surgery over the week who now had to restrict their movements because they were close contacts, not themselves unwell. And one of them just burst into tears and sobbed because she was going to have to be apart from her family over the Christmas period. And she was going to have to ring her parents and her grandparents and tell them this.
And earlier, England's top public health official confirmed the new variant of COVID-19 discovered there does spread more quickly. But he said there's no evidence it causes more deaths or doesn't respond to the vaccines and treatments at hand. Labour Senator Ivana Bacik says Coco's law will bring relief to a great many people across the country when it's finally passed by the Oireachtas. The legislation would criminalise the distribution of intimate images without consent and has since passed all stages of the Dáil and Seanad. Senator Bacik says it will make the internet a safer place.
That's very important that we see this finally being criminalised. It's long overdue. That's been recognised for some years now, but it's great to see the bill finally become law. And of course, we all paid tribute to Jackie Fox, whose daughter Nicole, or Coco, very sadly died as a result of the abuse she'd suffered online.
And Gardaí say they've uncovered wet pubs trading in secret in 4 counties in the last 24 hours. The force describes finding fresh pints, TV on and fire lighting in licensed premises in Limerick, Cork, Carlow and Meath. 30 people were also found drinking with no face coverings and no social distancing in a raid on a suspected shebeen. Gardaí say inspections targeting pubs breaching public health regulations are continuing and files are already being prepared for the Director of Public Prosecutions. It's 2 minutes past 4.
News Talk weather.
Thanks to the AA, wishing all our customers a very happy, safe and joyful Christmas.
Blustery with clear spells and scattered showers, the heaviest of those in the western half of the country, with a risk of hail and thunder too. Top temperatures of 5 to 9 degrees. And now you're up to date on News Talk.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power. Gamble responsibly. Gamblingcare.ie.
Welcome back to Off the Ball Saturday here on News Talk. John Duggan with you through until 8 o'clock on the special extended pre-Christmas show, because we got commentary of Munster, Clermont Auvergne with Neil Tracy and Johnny Murphy a bit later on, and obviously updates from the All-Ireland Football Final 2020, Dublin, Mayo, Croke Park, Nathan Murphy and David Brady on site down at Croke Park. Just text in here on 53106, speaking about Arsenal and Mesut Ozil before the break. Ozil's been up for sale for the last 2 years. Nobody came in for him. Ozil's finished and hasn't played a decent game for a year and a half. 4 managers have got sick of him and dropped him, from James in Celbridge. I don't know if it's 4 managers, well, maybe 3, Emery, Wenger and Arteta. Don't know if I'm missing one there. But we got Damien Delaney, former Republic of Ireland defender, Dan McDonnell, the Irish Independent football correspondent, and Johnny Ward, the broadcaster and journalist, to talk about football. With thanks to Paddy Power. For more information on responsible gambling, visit dunlewy.net. As well as listening on News Talk, you can watch us on our social channels for Periscope and Twitter at Off the Ball, YouTube, Facebook, and on the OTB Sports app. Damien Delaney, Big Sam, you know him, you played under him at Palace. Is he going to keep West Brom in the Premier League?
He's certainly given him as good a chances as possible. I think that maybe with Bilic there was certain amount of unknowns, albeit they did get a great results against Manchester City. But it looks like that decision was made well before that game. But, you know, Big Sam, the position they're in, you know, they're only 2 points, 3 points maybe off safety. And once he gets in there and makes them quite solid and hard to beat, I could see West Brom inching their way away from relegation trouble. But it's a good appointment, and it's a good shift in stance from West Bromwich Albion, who have been the ultimate yo-yo club, really going up, going down. And it looks like they've made the decision to just trying to solidify, go in a different direction and solidify Premier League football, and then maybe revert to the West Bromwich, original West Bromwich way further up the road.
What's he like to play for, Damien? And is it good for the likes of Darragh O'Shea, Callum Robinson?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, you know, it'll only be good for them if they do what they're told, because Sam Allardyce is the ultimate do-what-you're-told manager, and there will be no grey areas, no ambiguity, nothing. It is like, this is the way I'm doing it, and you will get one opportunity, and if you do it how he wants, then he'll be a great manager to play for. But if you've ideas on how you want to play football, and it kind of goes against what he wants as a manager, then you won't even be training with the first team, which is fine. But I'm pretty sure, looking at Darragh O'Shea, the type of player that he is, he's going to be a good fit for him.
He's kind of become a cult hero, that Sam Allardyce. I don't know where it came from, but and obviously there's a Limerick connection back to, what, the 90s?
Well, that goes back to his start in management with Father Joe Young down in Limerick, and I think he spoke about it during the week because he'd been at West Brom as a coach previously. I think when Brian Talbot was the manager, and they got sacked off the back of some embarrassing result or other, some cup game or other, and he basically needed to go to Limerick to get a start. And I think over the years, at various times, that the division he won has been exaggerated. I think at times people thought he'd won the Premier Division over here, whereas it was actually the First Division. But still, like, it's the classic case. And you've seen, like, you know, Steve Cotterill and Laurie Sanchez and a variety of other people. I suppose Paul Cook. In recent times, you know, you have seen managers, you know, English managers or Scottish managers, you know, come here and use it to get themselves going. In terms of being a coach here, I don't know. I mean, I guess so. I think there would have been a sort of a weariness to some of the reactions to the appointment during the week as well. It's like, oh God, you know, this is very negative a type of appointment. But as you know, Damien sort of lays out the case for it, and it must be said as well. I mean, West Brom had made a very unpopular decision previously to sack Darren Moore when actually they were sort of, I think, 4th in the championship at the time, and they've actually sort of they're not afraid to make the call now for whatever it is at that point. And I suppose that was vindicated to some degree when Bilic was able to get them up. And it must be said, I mean, I watched a fair bit of the Championship at the end of the season because of O'Shea, just interested to see how he was doing. I mean, they fell over the line, West Brom. I mean, they very nearly threw that away completely. I think they played the Barnsley the last game of the season. They were terrible. And actually, I think it was it Brentford actually collapsing that got West Brom up on the last game rather than West Brom storming across the line. So, I mean, and they were in the relegation zone. So, I mean, the timing is everything. They put in a very brave sort of purposeful display at Man City, and it looks a terrible decision. But I think there's possibly evidence there to suggest it may turn out to be not that bad a call at all. I think for O'Shea it'll be absolutely fine because he, by all accounts, sort of a great atmosphere, great attitude. You know, he's sort of got to be. He can play, but he's also battle hardened enough. O'Shea, he's played down at Exeter. He can play. You know, he's a big enough fella. He can play full back positions as well as centre half. You know, so I think he'll tick a lot of boxes. He'll be no nonsense, and I'd imagine, listening to what Damo says there, I'd imagine he'll pretty much slot in, and he might learn from this experience. Callum Robinson is maybe a bit harder to know, because Callum Robinson probably, you know, has been an acquired taste for certain managers, and we'll see how he fits into it. But even Bilic was picking him for a while, and then he's drifted out. And at a Premier League level, Robinson seems to be play one week and not the next. So I'll be interested to see with him. It could go either way, and we'll see what he does in the window. But for O'Shea, I don't think he'll have any problems transitioning to this with his attitude and his style. I would have thought he'd be absolutely fine. I mean, he was actually, you know, it was overshadowed by other stuff, and even the keeper. I mean, you know, Johnston was excellent, but O'Shea himself, I mean, considering like a year ago, by the way, like he hadn't played a championship game. Like he made his championship debut off the bench last December, and like a year on, he's playing against sort of, you know, a man in the barricades against Sterling and Aguero and De Bruyne and looking comfortable. So in the space of 12 months, he's come a hell of a long way. I know he's very grateful to Bilic for that, but I think he's not just someone who's a favourite of a manager. There's way more to him than that.
We got a text here, 53106. Jose looking relevant again. Moyes thriving, and Big Sam back could be forgiven for thinking it was 2010. Talk football going backwards that way, back towards that way. Agree, that's from Rory. And I've also got a text, or there's a tweet in here during the week. It's quite a funny tweet. If Sam Allardyce gets the West Brom job, then Allardyce, Tony Pulis, Alan Pardew and Roy Hodgson have all managed both West Brom and Crystal Palace in the last decade. That was from Richard Jolly during the week.
All fine men.
Football men, proper football men, I think was the...
They've all picked Damien Delaney on a number of occasions. What do they have in common? That's the other thing they have in common.
Absolutely.
You played for all four, Damien?
Say again, sorry?
You played for all four, Allardyce, Pulis, Pardew and Hodgson.
Yes, I have, yeah. All great men. Fantastic football men.
Hey, I just feel like we're missing something here. We're just definitely missing something. I don't know.
Hey, listen.
How did Pardew rate compared to the others, actually?
Pardew is definitely the odd one out and all that. You know, Pardew is very kind of, you know, a little bit of structure, but not a whole lot. But with the other ones, I mean, you know, if you're a foot away from where you're supposed to be, you get absolutely buried for it. So, I mean, that's how strict they are in terms of shape and discipline. And if you kind of want to do your own thing, for those three, you won't last long. Whereas Pardew would be a bit more, go and enjoy yourself. You know, the type of personality that Alan Pardew is. But look, and just to tie this back to Darragh O'Shea, you know, in football, you're going to have different types of managers. You know, some will like you, some won't. But I mean, managers won't ever not like you for personal reasons. Well, I mean, maybe some managers that way, but the majority no. But I'm saying, if you do what you're told as a player, managers will like you because that's all managers want. You know, they'll give you instruction, and if you do it, they'll like you and they'll pick you. And if you don't, you won't play. And you know, when Sam Allardyce comes in, asks you to do something, you better do it. And the same with Pulis and Roy Hodgson and Pardew to an extent as well, you know. So whenever I hear players say things like, oh, I never got on with the manager, you know, I usually think to myself, well, you obviously didn't give him what he wanted, hence the reason he didn't pick you. Because as I said, it's very rarely, very, 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 very rarely personal.
I'm assuming you would have played with guys who actually found it harder under that type of manager. They actually found that's like the sort of more off the cuff style players that wouldn't necessarily suit their personalities.
You'd be surprised. I think that all comes down to personality, Dan, to be honest with you. I mean, you know, if players want to play, you've got to do what you're told. I think it's always harder to play for a manager that just puts you on the pitch and lets you do what you want, because technically you can't be wrong if you don't get any instruction. Just go and do what you want. But sometimes you get managers that, I have had managers that have done that, and, you know, no instruction, and then they give out to you, and you kind of look at them and think, well, you didn't tell me not to do that, or, you know, it's very, from a tactical point of view. So it's very, very clear, and the job of a footballer is to, and like I was always brought up, you know, to think that if a manager asks you to do something, do it, and if he's wrong, he gets fired, and if you don't do it, then you won't play. So ultimately, you got to do what you're told, and time will tell who was right and wrong.
Did you get any sense from watching Man United during the week, Damien, that they're going to sort out their issues with inconsistency?
No, and that actually is probably why they're inconsistent, was the point I was just trying to make there. I don't think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is a huge tactical guy. There's definitely an element of go and enjoy yourself about Man United, and that's why at times it looks really, really good when everyone's on the same page. But there's times where they're just absolutely, you know, all over the shop, and in big games when pressure is high, if you don't have a solid game plan to come back on, you will be showing up. You know, you will be asked some questions, and if you don't have the answer, or you're not confident in how you're set up defensively, then you will pay the price. And I think that's, when I watch Manchester United, that's what I see. You know, that they just don't look a really well-drilled team. But when you watch Liverpool, Man City, you can see with and without the ball, they're very, very well-drilled sides, and those managers are equally as demanding as the likes of Sam Allardyce in terms of what they want. And if you don't give Pep Guardiola or Jurgen Klopp what he wants, you won't be playing.
How do you see it going tomorrow against Leeds?
Gee, I don't know which way it's going to go, but I'm looking forward to watching it. It promises to be a rip-roaring game. I think Leeds will do what they do, and Manchester United look like they might get caught up in that kind of tide of you know, freedom, and the game should be an open one. It should be end-to-end. So, and when games like that, it's very difficult to predict the winner, you know. Well, it should be a good game.
Yeah, John Jaws was on the show with Nathan on Thursday night, and the question was posed, are Leeds United a big club? So it's one of two live commentaries here on Off the Ball on News Talk. Let's have a listen to John here.
I'm always wary of using the term big club when we're talking about somebody potentially moving from Leeds to another side, considering how big a club Leeds traditionally have been.
Well, you get some letters from the Leeds supporters now.
Yeah, I know, that's what I'm worried about. If I suggest,
I think you're trying to cover yourself there.
If I suggest that actually, if you were in, say, Manchester City's position, do you think they should be looking at a player like him?
Oh yeah. I think, well, yeah. Again, with Leeds, I think Leeds are in a position now they wouldn't let anybody go.
Yeah.
They're not badly off now for a few bob, but apparently they look like they're going to get another somebody else in that's going to put some more money in it. And reading the paper, what they say is Leeds are a big club. We're going for it. So I can't see them selling players, right, Nathan. I think Leeds would have the support to be a big club. You know, there's no doubt about that. And they have the support. Okay, they could be less, but they're talking about maybe extending the ground. So I think there's ambitions there. They do have the main support. The main thing is having the support, and they have that.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't get a season ticket at Leeds for love of money, Nathan. You know, there's a huge support there, so it'd be worth the investment, I think. And that's the way Leeds see themselves now.
Johnny, 22 goals scored, 24 against in the Premier League. Absolutely brilliant stuff during the week against Newcastle. They're very exciting to watch, Leeds.
Yeah, they are. That game's going to be fascinating. You know, it's a real challenge for Manchester United. And if Damien doesn't think Manchester United necessarily there's an awful lot of coaching going on, that's definitely not the case with Leeds. Had the pleasure of watching them when they were in the Championship last season, and it was to see them up close, the way the intensity of their play, it was just captivating to watch. They have a problem with set pieces. They've given away quite a few goals against set pieces. That undid them against West Ham, but really good side, and I think that's going to be a fascinating game. I love Bielsa. He's absolutely captivated by football, lives for the game, probably completely consumes them, and you know, they are a team that is a kind of a model of the coach, because it's high octane stuff. They will concede, but they will score plenty of goals, and have to say, I did fancy them to do well this season. I thought they'd probably be a bit higher than 13th, but it is a tight league this season, and they should have every chance given Manchester United a right run for their money. One club City as well, really. You know, interesting to hear what John was saying there, John Giles. But massive club, and well overdue that they were back in the Premier League. It's just unfortunate they haven't been able to have fans at their games because really passionate fans, and that would be some atmosphere at that game tomorrow if there were fans there. But I think they'll be comfortably mid-table by the end of the season.
Quite a bit of rivalry, Dan. I'm never really sure where that comes from, the Man United-Leeds rivalry, that is quite edgy and quite bitter, but it is.
Yeah, well, I mean, geographically, they're not a million miles away from each other, and then they've had sort of, sparring at various times over the years, but no, there's a real feeling to that rivalry, and I think there's definitely a geography, but then, football history, they've overlapped as well, and I suppose in the sort of early 90s, the transition to the Premier League era, where you would have had Leeds as the last winners of the old First Division, and Manchester United as the first Premier League winners, and Eric Cantona and all of that. So there would have been some sort of quite feisty games. And even in recent times, was a couple of Leeds had a couple of wins at Old Trafford, didn't they, in the FA Cup? And because I think Michael Doyle was involved in a few of them. The Irish midfielder is still playing at whatever age he is now. So yeah, I mean, like there is a real feeling to it. And as Johnny sort of alludes to there, with spectators, it would probably be a spicier affair than we're going to see. But I think, as the lads have both mentioned, like the way that both teams play means it's going to be open and entertaining. It's not going to be flaccid, It's definitely going to be a proper footballing game, and it actually is very hard to call it. I don't know. I think both, like the Leeds Newcastle game during the week was very entertaining, but there was even a Jekyll and Hyde aspect to their own performance within that. So we shall see, but it's not going to let us down, I don't think, in terms of entertainment value.
Yeah, and be live for a News Talk tomorrow. Just go through the scores at the moment, lads. Crystal Palace losing 7-0 to Liverpool, the champions' second win in 4 days earlier on. A really emphatic win for Liverpool. Southampton 0, Manchester City 1-8 to score in the second half. Raheem Sterling on the mark, a 5:30 kickoff. Everton and Arsenal. We'll get the teams from Goodison Park shortly. It's Newcastle against Fulham at 8 o'clock. And then in the Championship, full-time earlier on, the leaders, Norwich, beating Cardiff City by 2-0. Latest scores, Birmingham City 1, Middlesbrough 3. It's Brentford 3, Reading 0. Huddersfield Town 2, Watford 0. It's Luton 0, Bournemouth 0. Millwall 1, Nottingham Forest 1. Sheffield Wednesday and Coventry, that is goalless. It is Stoke City 1, Blackburn Rovers 0. Swansea City 1, Barnsley 0. And Wycombe Wanderers 0, QPR 1. These are the latest scores in the Championship. And in Scotland, we'll get the scores up as well from the Scottish Premiership. Rangers still 1-0 down to Motherwell in the Scottish Premiership. We're going to break away in about 10 or 15 minutes time from OTB Football Saturday, just to build up to the All-Ireland football final between Dublin and Mayo with David Brady and Nathan Murphy from Croke Park. Then we've got Munster Claremont commentary from 5:30 on the air until 8 o'clock this evening. Dan and Johnny, just on the Rover signings during the week, that's a bit of a statement that the signings they've made quite close after the season finished.
Yeah, I mean, there's two stories in that. I mean, yeah, the Rovers business has been very good. I mean, they've signed Sean Gannon and Sean Hoare from Dundalk, but that in some respects is a story of Dundalk as well too, and sort of the sort of chaotic decisions that have been made contract-wise, which have come home to roost in the end, and they've let two good players go to their main rivals, which just shouldn't happen if you're doing your business correctly. So that's that. But Rovers also have signed Chris McCann, who Premier League player at Burnley in a day and won the MLS Cup with Atlanta, and is sort of coming home, trying to have a Joey O'Brien style impact, I guess. And Danny Mandrio from Bows, who's basically going to replace Jack Byrne, I think, who I'd say it's heavy odds on that Jack will be leaving. And Danny Mandrio is certainly a player who has the potential to fill that void if he applies himself correctly, because he didn't even play for Bows towards the end of the season. And there is a very good young player there that they rate very highly, Dawson Devoy. But I spoke to some people who had been around the Irish under-21 camp. Very good squad, as we know at the moment. And Danny Mandrew was away with them, and ability-wise, I mean, they would feel he can hold his own relative to a lot of those players, but he hasn't played a lot of football. So it's clear that there maybe he has some growing up to do, but that maybe going to that sort of Rovers environment might bring that out of him. So that's it's an ominous statement, but they're signing very good players, and I mean they have the they have a league-winning squad already and they're adding to it, and the fact that the Dundalk probably should be challenging them have let a couple of players join them ties in with the whole balance of power swinging that way.
I got some text in here on 53106. Lads, you're just after explaining why Ozil doesn't play for Arteta. He won't do what's expected from him, and like Bale, has become toxic in the dressing room. That is from Eddie Keogh on 53106. Damien, Robin County Clare has taken issue with your opinion on Man United. He says you can't give them any credit. They win their 2 games in hand. They're just second, 2 points off first, while Liverpool have won today. You harp on about City. United are ahead of them. Just like last season, United were finished and Wolves were more likely to break the top 4. But I think you've got a point, Damien, that Solskjaer, to me, I would agree that it's just not an elite manager.
Do I get right to reply to that text?
Of course, yeah. That's why I read it out.
Yeah, look, I mean, saying that Manchester United could go ahead of City. I mean, City have had an awful lot of success recently. So, I mean, Manchester United, the standard they're held to is pretty high, and I think they've fallen short to that repeatedly. Yes, Manchester United are second, but they lost 3 cup semi-finals last year. They got knocked out of Europe this year, even though they had 2 or 3 stabs at going through. And that's not Manchester United's standard. Look, time will tell. And look, if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer does turn it around and win some trophies for Manchester United, then I'll happily apologise. I just don't see it. I don't think he has the same personality as the other top managers. Jurgen Klopp, Mourinho, and Pep. I just don't think he has that same drive. The very fact that he came out and apologised to Chris Wilder the other night after the game. I mean, staggering type of stuff for Manchester United, really, with the game on the line and they're winning 3-2, and fair enough, things get said, but, to come on TV and be apologising to people, I just don't think he has that killer instinct, that real inner mentality that the other ones have, and I don't think that gets through to his players. That's why his players are so inconsistent.
Leeds Man United rivalry, the War of the Roses, lads. Historic rivalry between Lancashire and Yorkshire. I was looking, it was between 1455 and 1487, 32 years. And I suppose when you think about cricket, Lancashire and Yorkshire always had a good rivalry in cricket. So yeah, got to brush on the history there and to ask these questions why maybe the War of the Roses seeped into the Leeds and Man United rivalry. There's been a great rivalry between Dublin and Mayo in recent years in Gaelic football. Damien, we're talking about Gerard Houllier, maybe was going to be the Irish manager at one stage. Maybe things could have been a little bit different for you. Like you played at Croke Park as a minor for Cork.
Yeah. That was in 1989. We lost in the All-Ireland semi-final, I think it was. And I got to play there in soccer as well for the national team. So that's something I'm actually pretty proud of, that I got to play there in both codes. Yeah.
Will you be watching?
Yeah, probably. I might watch bits of it. I'm not a huge fan of GA really at the minute, but I suppose it's All Ireland, and might sit down and watch some of it, or be flicking around, to be honest with you.
Johnny, will it be more one-sided than Crystal Palace and Liverpool?
See, that's part of the reason why I don't particularly enjoy watching it. You want to watch sport as a competition, and you want your finals to be against 2 best teams, and you want it to be competitive. A bit like the hurling, a lot of hurling games this year. I'm a huge fan of hurling, the competitive edge, but I just think that this could be over after 20 minutes, and I've got no real interest in watching a Dublin procession 6 years in a row.
Yeah, it's a seismic game for Gaelic football in many ways. The hurling, the quality of hurling at the moment is unbelievable, and the quality of football is arguably really, really high as well. The problem is that Dublin are so far clear, like 100 to 1 on they were to win their semi-final, and if they win by sort of 10 or 12 points today, and we've already heard some very big figures in sport, where is the county system going? But if Dublin absolutely dominate the game today, you are kind of wondering how long can we sustain this traditional system that so many people love, because it's just not good for the sport in many levels if one team is completely dominant. But Leinster are completely, ridiculously lopsided in recent years. If that translates to today, where Mayo can't compete with them, and Mayo traditionally have been willing to compete with Dublin, a lot of people kind of, if Damien is kind of, indifferent about watching, there'll be a lot of Gaelic football men who might be struggling to watch the last 10 minutes as well.
Daniel, I think that'll be left to Nathan Murphy in about 5 or 10 minutes' time to give Mayo people hope there, given the last two contributions.
The lads can do that. I mean, I know it's funny, like I'm not enough of a GA follower to really pass comment on it completely, but I do enjoy the fact that I think there's a lot of dubs of a certain age who remember all the years of pain. And certainly, like, sort of lads my age who in their 20s were watching sort of Dublin fail and fail again. So they're loving this now, but they're actually struggling to see clearly, you know, how bad it's becoming for everyone else's enjoyment of it. It's like, if you were to sit down and start from scratch now and construct a system for how it will be played, like, you wouldn't operate it the way that it operates at the moment. So, there has to be a reckoning coming for that. But I'm not sure if you I think you've seen so much pain, John. You think it might go cyclically and turn around again, but I'm not so sure about that. But anyway, I mean, like, to bring us back to Paris, it's funny you mentioned Rangers, because I know our time is tight. Yeah. I was going to mention the St Mirren win against Rangers during the week, because St Mirren are probably the most Irish team in England and Scotland at the moment. They're managed by Jim Goodwin, who's from Waterford, ex-Irish underage player. And then they had 3 goals against Rangers, 2 from Jamie McGrath from Meath, ex-Dundalk, 1 Conor McCarthy from Cork, from the Damo's neck of the woods. You also had Dylan Connolly in the team from Dublin. You had Joe Shaughnessy from Galway and Jake Doyle-Hayes, who's from Cavan, who's ex-Aston Villa, and you had like 5 Irish lads in the starting 11 and an Irish manager, ending Rangers' hopes of a treble. It was a pretty good story. I think Conor McCarthy, would you have? He was overlapped. Yeah, he was there
for a year. I think a fantastic proposition, and I'm delighted that he's seeing some reward. He was probably the one player when I went to Cork City that I was most impressed with. Physically, he's in great shape, great size. Prototype modern day right back or right side of 3 centre backs. But now he's over in Scotland. If he does well and he develops, I think that kid could go pretty far.
And 5-3-1-6, who's good enough for United? Mourinho wasn't, Van Gaal wasn't, Moyes wasn't. Let's not forget Ferguson didn't exactly start fantastic either. I think I think there was they hadn't won any leagues since '67, and they were going that way towards winning league titles again. And as the time has come to split Liverpool in 2, a bit like the Dubs, although I suppose they tried that, the other half is rubbish and Liverpool are still too strong. A bit harsh on Everton, given the way they're playing now under Ancelotti. Be careful what you wish for. Damien, Dan and Johnny, we're going to cut it a little short, as I said, because of the football final, a build-up with Nathan and David Brady at Croke Park for the All-Ireland football final. I just want to personally thank you, all of you, for keeping the listeners informed and entertained throughout what's been a difficult year. You've been great, and I just really hope you have a great Christmas.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, JD.
Thanks, JD.
Yeah, Dan and I are World Cup reviews. That seems about 6 years ago now, when in fact it was only a few months ago. But there you are.
Okay. The World Cup reviews. Yeah. That was the highlight, one of the highlights of the year, lads. So thanks for everything and have a great Christmas. And we're back with the football final build-up after this.
Football on Off the Ball
with Paddy Power. New normal, same old football. Paddy Power. Gamble responsibly. Gamblingcare.ie.
Screen Time.
This week on Screen Time, I talked to legendary actress Diane Lane about her new movie Let Him Go and her long Hollywood career that started at the age of 14. Mark Ryle gets his lasso out when he reviews Wonder Woman 1984, and historian Dermot Ferriter chats about his favourite movie.
Screen Time with John Fardy.
Listen to the podcast now or tune in at the slightly later time of 9 p.m. this evening.
On News Talk.
At Lidl, we've been hard at work making sure everything is perfect this Christmas, and that includes the prices. Get a 3 kilo fresh whole Irish turkey for an amazing €8.99. There's 24 packs of Heineken and Budweiser cans for just €19 each. And don't forget to check out our huge range of fresh Irish fruit and veg at only 49 cents each. Lidl, more for everyone this Christmas. Enjoy alcohol responsibly.
Now's the time to make a plan to keep well over the months ahead. Being creative can really help you to relax. Try to keep up a hobby, or start a new one, or even just switch off. Make your plan today to keep well. Find more ideas at gov.ie/Healthy Ireland.
2020. The year the bins went out more than you did. The year going out was to parks, not clubs. The year that online dating stayed online.
The year travelling meant being allowed outside your 5k. The year Friday pints happened on Zoom. The year getting coffee was a reason to wear your good coat. The year you actually finished Netflix. We didn't get out much this year. Make the most of Christmas. Whatever you've planned, we are here. Free now. Ireland's #1 taxi app.
In Ireland, we're fighting COVID-19 with masks and distance.